Hey everyone, how's it going? It's Mike and Cory. We're bringing you episode 2 of the Long Island Gamers podcast. This one being recorded on July 25th, 2018, or as we like to call it, Happy Fortnite Day, because it's his 1 year anniversary. So there's that. Mike here, Cory joining me. We're going to kind of dive in and just talk about some of the hot topics going around gaming and just our thoughts on some things and, you know, the usual stuff. But first, how's it going, Cory?
Going pretty good. We got the Fortnite birthday, so I gotta get myself into that after this,
And I'll watch you because you know I'm pretty terrible at Fortnite, but I can tell they're making efforts to reach out to me as a casual gamer, as we'll probably talk about here pretty shortly. There's been some big news surrounding Fortnite leading up to its birthday, and as we actually record this today, it turned 1, but been some talk over there on the competitive side about some changes. I know you wanted to talk about that a little bit. What have you been kind of hearing about and what you've been seeing?
All right, so I got a article here that said about changing. Basically, from what I read, is that there's no change on how much material you can get from farming and everything, but what has changed is the whole health level on the materials and everything. So basically it's basically, instead of it's a build off at the end of every fight or after every game, which for me, I can't really build that great, so it's okay, whatever. But there's been a lot of flack going around because it basically, what Fortnite is it's unique from any other BR game because of the building. So right now that they changed the health levels on the materials and everything, they you could shoot them down a lot more quicker. So you're constantly trying to keep rebuilding, but you can't build as much because they go down so much more. So from right now, what I see is that the stone walls dropped from 90 to 80, and then the wood from 100 to 80, and then the max health for the walls was reduced from 200 to 150. So basically all of it is just goes down, so any gun could shoot it down a lot quicker. Now I don't know if you have any perspective on that, since you didn't really play too much.
Well, I find it interesting because, as Kotaku in their article pointed out when they published it, while the changes on the surface seem slight, they actually do have an effect on the game, and they really do change the meta. As I was thinking and kind of just putting my thoughts together leading into the podcast and reading this article, it kind of jumped out to me that when you have games like this, when you have these games that kind of have that competitive casual split, these changes do have impacts toward one side of the community or the other. So from my interpretation, from what I've been seeing in terms of the competitive side of things, there seems to be some concern that these changes are more or less kind of working to, I guess, lower that floor of difficulty for newer players, which is nothing wrong with that. But I guess the competitive community wants Epic Games to understand when you make those changes, you're basically changing the meta of the game. And we're seeing that now. They're trying to essentially shift from, like you said, those build-offs at the end to more of a, I guess, gunplay based into a lot of these matches. And again, you're changing the meta, you're changing the way the game is played at that higher echelon. That's how I see it so far. I mean, you played a little more than I have, but at least from the outside looking in and having played a game for a bit, building, at least leading up to this recent update, building was key. I mean, I think you would agree with that.
Yeah, it's what makes Fortnite unique. So, I mean, I haven't had a chance to play the new update or anything, so I'll be giving it a shot after this. But for me, that really can't build as much. As it can't build as great as everybody else. It gives me more of an opportunity to win. Because I know my gun skill is there, obviously, but it's the building. So it's if you can't build, you're more just not good at Fortnite. So it's gonna change everybody's way in the game, which my whole thing is, why not give it a shot? I know a lot of people like the building, but why not give it a shot, see how it goes, and then if anything, you could change it back, because for what we know is Fortnite actually listens to their fans, and well, Epic Games listens to their fans. Like basically, the new SMG, the P90, it was overpowered everything in less than 48 hours. Epic Games nerfs it, everything is good. So for me, like that just shows that this is a reason. There's a reason why Epic Games is so like high up in just the company right now. Like they're the number one company basically in gaming right now, and it clearly shows. Like no other. I don't see any other company making changes in less than 48 hours of an update.
Right. Well, I don't like being contrarian. I think it's the interesting thing for me is when you mention, well, why not give it a try and kind of see how it goes and see how, I guess, the game changes with these slight adjustments to the strength of walls and things like that. When it comes to that, if what I'm seeing is what shakes out, I feel that something like this is something they'll actually probably keep in place more than just kind of a temporary experiment. Because again, what you want to keep doing is when you want to have a successful game like this, particularly a game that's kind of one of these live service games where it's constantly changing, it's not like an annual franchise like say a Madden. When you have a live service game, your goal is to constantly get people to stay but also bring in new players. So if there's a perception that the game has too high of a, I guess, entry regarding actually getting in and being able to play at a competitive level or a semi-competitive level when it comes to the building side of things, lowering that floor could be what brings people in. And if that does work, I think that would result in that change, this change that's in place now, remaining permanent. Because then they would see, well, now people are actually giving the game a chance because we've lowered that floor of difficulty for players to be able to come in and actually feel like they're competitive. It's kind of that same argument with Call of Duty, where people feel that Call of Duty has been kind of, I guess you would say, reduced in difficulty to kind of give that player, to give some players who are not as experienced that chance to feel like they are forced to be reckoned with in the game, which in turn some feel has hurt the competitive side. I'm not saying that's your perspective, but that's kind of one of those arguments that's been going around over the last few years of Call of Duty. So I kind of think that's the concern that's kind of seeping over here to Fortnite.
Well, I mean, I don't see them changing the meta pack right away anyway, even if it had like bad reviews and whatnot, because it is a meta, so they're gonna let it play out. But I could see like after season 5, if it's doing terrible, I could see them changing. But you brought up Call of Duty. Call of Duty has what? Shotguns, claymores, like all these things that aren't in the competitive scene, but they put it in public, so it gives somebody that isn't the greatest a more fair of a shot. So yeah, it's a good comparison right there.
And like I said, that was just my perspective. And again, I think coming at it from being a casual gamer when it comes to Fortnite, it's weird that I actually can see both sides of it because I've played on the competitive side of games before when it comes to, say, Pokemon. I played Pokemon competitively for a couple of years. When you start changing major tenets of the game, some of the major foundations of the game, that does cause a real significant shift in how that competitive game, how that meta is played. And this being one of those kind of significant moves, while again the numbers seem small in terms of the reductions in that wall strength, they're going to have significant implications to how the game is played and how these matches fall out. So yes, a competitive community will most likely just adjust and jump back into the game how they were playing before with the new structure and the new meta. But again, these kind of changes can result in some significant changes. And it's one of these situations where Epic does need to be in close tune with their community to make sure that these changes are indeed what they want in terms of competitive play, while balancing the need to bring in new players and attract new players. Because again, Fortnite is everywhere. It's maybe not as prolific as it was, say, maybe earlier in the year when it was just saturating the media, but it's still one of the most prolific games out there. Practically can play it on anything. And reading that Kotaku article, they made a good point. It's very possible some of these changes were made because of all the platforms they're on, including mobile. So again, when you're reaching and expanding the reach of this game and have the potential of bringing in so many more millions of people, I think sometimes you have to make these adjustments while balancing both the need for casual players and those who aren't as competitive, and also your competitive scene as well.
Well, a few things. I don't know if it's realistic for Fortnite, but I feel like any game like this that has a very high competitive scene, I feel like they should always have a competitive and a casual and keep them separate, because you're never going to satisfy both groups at the same time. It's never ever going to happen. I see it all the time. But it's just, I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but right now the new meta basically is called or is just spray and pray, because since they lowered the health and everything on it, you could just spray it, get all their like wood down and everything, and then easily shoot them. So we'll see how that takes in part.
Right. And
So.
I do think when we talk about listening to your community, most likely in most cases it's your competitive community, your dedicated base of players who are going to be the most vocal. It's probably not as likely that your casual players, who are the ones they're trying to draw in, are really going to say anything. It's more like the company, I'm not just singling out Epic, but we'll just say a company in general would be making these changes, hoping that they gain traction, and thus that attracts people. When it comes to your hardcore base, you already have people there dedicated to playing your game. So I think it's one of those situations where the competitive base is not really going to be as vocal as your casual base is not going to be as vocal as your competitive base, because again, they're not the ones who aren't as invested in this game. You're trying to draw them in and balance the, I guess, feelings of your dedicated competitive base as well. So it's kind of that balancing act that Epic and plenty of other companies have had to kind of strike over the years, of trying to draw new people in while keeping the ones you have there happy, who are at the upper echelons of playing the game.
Yeah, and when you go on Twitch, what's the number one game every single day?
Barbecue's
Fortnite.
Adventure? Oh,
Ah.
Fortnite. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
that
Actually, Fortnite has just got second.
one. Well, I think speaking of Fortnite and just the prolific nature of this game, the fact that it's everywhere, it really does kind of bounce into a topic that's been talked about a lot over the last few weeks and probably the last few months, especially here in 2018 and probably going back a couple years, which is this whole notion of crossplay and really having these big three along with your PC base being able to interface with each other and play with each other on the same games. And of course, you saw it, and I'm sure probably a lot of people watching and listening probably saw the same thing when Nintendo and Xbox had their big announcement of working together and being able to cross-play on Minecraft together in the latest updates. So that was a huge deal. And then later with Fortnite as well. So the caveat to that is the one that is not at the table is actually Sony themselves. And Sony is not and has no plans to introduce crossplay to their PS4 platform. So that's been a real big talking point of why hasn't Sony done it, but yet Nintendo and Xbox are more open to doing that. And I know you were reading an article, and I read that same article too. My perspective is, again, while like the article read, I think it was GameSpot, while it said it's a business move, but it's a positive business move. This is looking out for Sony's interests. This is looking out for them as a business. It's a PR kind of a nightmare where you have your competitors essentially saying, we're doing things that, I guess, in the gamer's eyes are in the best interest of the gamer. And Sony is the one who is the outlier, choosing not, I guess you could say, quote, play well with others, unquote, and not jump into this crossplay platform. I mean, what's your take on this whole crossplay thing?
I mean, I want it to happen. Basically, the three games right now that they want to do it is Fortnite, Minecraft, and Rocket League.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Sony is the outlier. My whole, like, this is just like opinion, type thing. If I had a huge company like that and everything, I would not want to be doing crossplay. And the reason I say that is because let's say I have a bunch of friends that play on PlayStation, I play on Xbox, and oh, here's crossplay. I don't have to buy a PlayStation. I could just play on crossplay and we're good. Everything's fine. Everything's set. Now, if you don't do the crossplay, what do you got to do to get to play with your friends? You have to buy a PlayStation now. So now now PlayStation. Now Sony is now making money because you want to go play with your friends. So as a gamer, I want it, but as a business person, I would not want it.
And I think that your exact perspective there is the perspective of Sony, at least in my opinion. Again, I'm not in the boardroom of Sony, so I don't know what their mindset is. But again, it's like you said, it's more of a business thing. You want people to come to your platform and you want them to stay and play your games. So if you have, like you said in your example, you have friends who have PlayStation, you would prefer that that person who doesn't have PlayStation but wants to play with their friends, you would prefer they buy your product. You would prefer they do it on your platform. And that requires them to invest and buy your console and then to buy the game for your console. That is Sony's perspective. And that's a completely fine perspective for them to have as a business because businesses have to make money. So I get that side of it. But I also see the side of gamers where they believe they bought the game for this one platform. They should be able to interface with people who are playing the game on another platform. So if I bought my Fortnite on the Switch, I believe I should be able to play with people who are playing on the Xbox or playing on the PC. That's kind of that gamer's perspective. It's one of those arguments that kind of you can make from both sides of it. You could argue that Sony's completely right and it's a matter of their prerogative to make sure they do what's in the best interest of their shareholders to make money. But also from the gamer's perspective, doing things that are in the best interest of growing the gaming culture, which is being able to interface with more people and go across platforms, that is also a strong, I guess, incentive to open up your console to crossplay. I see the benefits of crossplay, but at the same time, for me, I just get on these games just to play them. I play them for a bit and then I move on. I've never really thought in the back of my head, oh my God, while playing my Xbox, it'd be fantastic if I could be playing with someone on PS4. Because it's just never really been a thought, I guess, that's been in my head. I guess maybe I'm just part of a older generation of gamers who kind of came into this whole online gaming thing, and you're just used to the idea of if you're playing on Xbox, you're playing with other Xboxes. Whereas maybe people who are coming in newer to the gaming space are used to the idea of, well, if I'm going to be playing on PlayStation, hopefully I'll be able to also play with my friend on Xbox. So that's an area that's kind of, I guess, I don't want to say lost on me, but I can see it a little better from Sony's perspective and accept their perspective of they're kind of doing this in the best interests of their company, their shareholders, and what they need to do to move PS4s.
Yeah, I mean, I got some friends that play on PlayStation. You know, I currently play on Xbox, so it'd be nice as a gamer to actually play with those people. But I mean, when you watch E3 every year, the whole reason for exclusive games is so that that company can make that money off of that game without having to worry about the other companies making the money.
Right.
So it's also like that is another that's just my opinion on like the exclusive games is basically goes the same way as this, just because Sony doesn't want to like lose out on money, which I don't blame them.
Right. And I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I think that your comment there makes a good point to maybe press on and kind of drill on. Is the era of the exclusive game dead? Like back years ago, you used to have these E3 press conferences and Tokyo Game Shows and Gamescoms where you would see these exclusive games, these, I guess, console-specific franchises that could move units. And now, if you look at an E3 presentation here in 2018, the one that just passed, a myriad of the shows are made up of these third-party titles, these ones you can get where you can get these experiences on multiple platforms. And when you're looking at the fidelity of these systems, looking at the PlayStation 4, looking at the Xbox One, looking at PC, and looking at even the Switch, the fidelity of these games are to the point where it's not where we were back in the late 90s when I was young, and jumping from the Super Nintendo to the Nintendo 64 was this massive leap in terms of, whoa, I have to have that. That is the next step in gaming, to almost these gradual upgrades in fidelity. Is the era, basically I'm saying these systems are essentially the same except for the Switch, but the PlayStation 4, the Xbox essentially are the same. They're doing the same thing. Is the era of these exclusive games dead? Is it about just trying to get people to come to your brand to play these experiences they can get anywhere else, but you'd rather than do it on your system?
Yeah, let me ask you one question. If you make a game right now, like if you could, would you go exclusive or not?
No, I wouldn't go
Yeah,
exclusive. I feel like
I wouldn't either.
that's limited.
And nobody wants to go exclusive anymore because they know, hey, we can make so much more money if we don't. I mean, you got The Last of Us, Halo, Gears. Those they I guess they're just so far into it that they don't want to like start now. But
And I think those are situations where those are being either aided or kind of being helped by those individual companies. So it might be a situation where they are tied to these franchises, and it was as part of the development process working with them, it was decided, well, this is going to be one of our flagship first party brands. This can be one of our flagship produced titles, but this is for us. This is a Sony brand game. This is a Microsoft branded game. So it might be that situation.
yeah, I mean, maybe like if they sign a contract. I mean, I don't know so much into this anyway. Like, I'm not gonna get too much into it, but maybe they sign a contract for more, something like that.
Right.
And they just got offered more, and they actually do make more money for being on that one company.
Right.
So
I mean, even for example, like sometimes you see games that aren't actually really exclusive that are being pushed to seem that they're exclusive, but they're not. For example, look at No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky was pushed by Sony as just this fantastic game that's almost given the perception that it was an exclusive game. And now look, a year or so later, almost 2 years later, now it's coming to the Xbox One as well. So mind you, it was on PC as well, so I couldn't really argue it was exclusive to Sony, but I guess you would say on the console side, it was an exclusive Sony game. But now that is also kind of a third-party game that's now being launched across multiple platforms coming to Xbox One. So again, it's more or less this is a money thing. It's like we said, you're seeing these exclusives dwindle and become more about, hey, here's some intangibles we have on our system, along with those cool games you just watched us present on the stage. Why not come over here and play those on our system? I think really the only company that can tout exclusives and really get away with it is Nintendo now, because they have so many in-house properties that they can get away with a lot of things because they are exclusive to them. You're not going to see a Legend of Zelda game on the Xbox. I mean, if they did, I'd be completely okay with that. But you're not going to see that. You're not going to see an Animal Crossing on a PlayStation system, even though fans are desperate for a new Animal Crossing game. You're not going to see those Nintendo exclusives on other systems because, again, they've kind of built this structure, this narrative of these are our properties, these are staying in-house, and we accentuate them with third parties. With the other two of the big three, Nintendo and Sony, I feel like they are more concerned about now having a strong roster of games made up of a mix of third party, but also some of their exclusive brands as well. And as we saw with Xbox, as we talked about in the first podcast, they made their big move acquiring a number of studios to try and bolster their in-house first party game making. And Sony, of course, has been just a strong force with their first party games as well. So you're seeing that there's a shift. Now the push is less about those first party games. You only can play these here to, hey, you can play these games here, but also look at this roster of third-party games that you can experience on our platform because XYZ reasons our system is stronger than our competitor. I think that's where we are now.
I just almost feel like, you know how when PlayStation 4 and Xbox One first came out, it was like the whole competition of who's going to get more sales and this and that. I don't know.
Can I just say my favorite moment of the whole Sony PlayStation 4 Xbox One situation? I don't know if you remember this, but I do. Do you remember when Xbox came on stage and said that, I think this was during they mentioned the system is always on and you can't share games with your friends?
Yeah, in PlayStation you can.
Yes. And then shortly after the, I want to say it was the Xbox press conference, Sony released a video of their two executives showing how you share games on PS4.
This is how you share your games on PS4.
Thanks.
PlayStation.
It was
that won a lot of people over.
That, I don't know, it was a moment like that just really made me laugh. It felt like we were hearkening back just for a minute to that to the 90s with the Sega versus Nintendo war, quote unquote war, but also kind of that back and forth we saw between Sony and Nintendo, and then Sony and Nintendo going into the late 90s into the 2000s. That was just fun to me, but I didn't mean to cut across you. When you brought that up, it just brought back that lovely memory of that video.
Yeah, I mean, PlayStation won me over at first, but I got to stay back to my roots. Basically what got me back into Xbox, I was like, I like the need of achievements. Like it actually feels worth it getting. Like trophies means nothing.
I was gonna say, so even them adding trophies didn't get you to stay on their platform.
No, because like we have a gamer score. I mean, and it's just like one clear cut number. Then they got, you have this many platinums, you got this many golds, you got this many. It's just like, okay, it's just too much. Right. So I don't know. For me, I had to come back. But basically, what I wanted to say is, it almost feels like they want to be like quiet about it. But obviously, the competition when this first came out and everything, it was such competition. They were trying to like battle off each other and everything. Now it almost feels like they're low key trying to work together.
And they being which?
Sony and my Xbox.
Okay.
Or Microsoft, what you want to say? Because I saw, I don't know if it was Xbox or it was Phil that tweeted back at Sony about like one of their games that came out and they did good, and they were like, "Oh, good job" or whatever.
Probably the God of War.
Yeah, God of War. Yeah, that's what it was. That was it. And so I'm like, yo, low key, these guys are like, I just feels like they're working on something, but I don't know.
Well, I think that's a situation where you see, I think a lot more now, probably over the last maybe 5 or so years, maybe even going back a little more toward the Xbox 360 era. I feel like you see a lot more camaraderie between these companies because, again, a game doing well, even if it's not on your console, I feel is good for the industry as a whole. So the fact that God of War, which is not going to be a God of War podcast because I haven't played it. So the fact that God of War did so well and it being a single player game, doing so well in this climate of comments about single player games are dead. We need to be moving toward live service games. Having a game excel and be so high quality, just because it's on Sony and their platform, it doesn't mean that the, I guess, gaming world as a whole isn't benefited by that. So the fact that God of War has done so well, that's a good thing for the gaming industry. And I think even Xbox recognizes that because that sends them a signal that people want this kind of experience. Look at what Sony's doing, not saying copy them, but look at what Sony's doing. This is working. There's a demand for it. Maybe we should be looking at where the demand is as well. So I think in that situation, there was definitely some kind of that camaraderie of all, I forget the analogy, but basically everyone is being benefited by the success of others in the industry, in my opinion.
I mean, I don't like when people say that single player games are dying or whatever. I feel single player games are not dying at all. I mean, you got numerous of games that I can count that are
Right.
doing great. Like,
Yeah.
just over the last 2 years. You could even go back to like BioShock, and that game is still a great single player.
The
game.
Witcher 3 is a fantastic game, and you
Yeah.
should go buy it.
Gotta keep bringing up The Witcher.
The Witcher 3 is a fantastic game. You should go buy it, and it's a great value.
I mean, what you just had Far Cry come out. You know,
Yes.
you got Just Cause, you got Wolfenstein. I said BioShock, you said The Witcher. You got We Happy Few coming out in 2 weeks, something like that.
Mhm.
We'll see how it does. What else you got?
I mean, we can go back
Yeah,
across
yeah,
platforms.
I
There have
can-
been so
yeah.
many
But-
single-player games, even, like I said, looking back at last year with The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Super Mario Odyssey. Single-player games that excelled in terms of demand and also quality. There's a demand, and people want these games, and they're buying them.
Well, it's not single. I just feel like it's not single player games that are dying out. It's
No.
the games that multiplayer has taken over. That's where
Yeah.
single player games have died out. For example, Call of Duty.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a single player game. Instead, we got a battle royale.
Right.
And talking about that, I'm gonna keep this short, sweet, and simple. Battle royale, usually 100 people more. It is not confirmed yet, but Call of Duty Black Ops 4 will have 60 people.
It's only 60.
So, only 60, which I don't see being a bad thing. And the reason I don't see it being a bad thing is because every battle royale works different. So some are fast paced, some are slow paced.
Mhm.
Got Fortnite is so fast, and you go
Yeah.
to PUBG and it's so slow.
Mm-hmm.
So every game works different. I mean, you were playing H1 with 160 people. Now it's like stable at 100.
Right.
So Call of Duty is a fast-paced game. I just, so 60 people, smaller map doesn't seem bad because if it's fast-paced, I don't see it being bad. You do your game and then you go into another game, so whatever. It just means faster games, which to my opinion doesn't mean it's all that bad.
Right.
We'll see.
Well, I think that's a great kind of like pivot point for something else that me and you talked about on Xbox. But
A heated
now-
topic.
I don't want to say it's heated, but I think there's a lot of conversation going on in the community about this specific thing related to Black Ops 4, and it is the Black Ops Pass, essentially the quote-unquote season pass for Black Ops 4, which comes out in October, correct? October?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I got that wrong last time. I want to make sure I got that right. In October, and kind of just the concerns and frustrations people have about the way Activision is approaching this game in terms of these, I guess, the DLC packs that come out traditionally after the game comes out. So from my perspective, I'll just go ahead and break it down. Most people involved in Call of Duty know this already, but in the Black Ops Pass, you're going to be getting 4 zombie experiences, as they call them, 12 multiplayer maps. You'll get day one bonus of classified as zombie experience and 4 exclusive Blackout characters. So these are all part of that, I guess, this bundle of DLC you'll be paying for with that season pass. But the caveat is, in order for you to be able to get these maps and the zombie experiences, you're going to have to buy the season pass just kind of right up front. You have to buy the season pass in order to get access to these DLCs. You're not going to be able just to buy them a la carte, kind of at your leisure after they come out or kind of during the life cycle of Black Ops 4. And that has a lot of people kind of up in arms because, again, what you're doing is instead of allowing people to buy them at their leisure, you're taking a $60 game and in my opinion, you're taking a $60 game and increasing the price point to $110. Now, I'm a casual Call of Duty player. Cory's a lot more in the competitive side of it. What is your take on the, I guess, price point? And does this affect you going out and buying Call of Duty in terms of just buying the base game, or are you just going to go in the spring for the season pass and pay the 110?
Well, I'm going to bring it back a little bit because for people that don't know, originally you bought the DLC at any time. You could either buy a DLC, or you could buy all 4, anytime, doesn't matter. You get 12 maps. What was it? 4 maps at. Well, now it's 12 maps. Okay, so it was 16 maps. You got 4 maps each DLC, and then you got a zombie. So you got 4 zombies, 16 maps. Now they're doing the 12 and the 4 zombies.
4. Yeah.
So I don't know. I just like the whole idea of anybody having. I like the idea that people could just have the will to buy it at any time. Like, don't force it upon everybody that it's like, no, you need to buy it. So that's why I see they're going wrong. And I could basically, this article, the name says Call of Duty fans in uproar over Black Ops 4 season pass. I can see why. I mean, a lot of people don't have $100 to just throw on a game.
Right.
And the whole problem with it is if you don't buy the $100 game, it goes back to Infinite Warfare and Modern Warfare Remastered, where you had to buy Infinite Warfare to buy Modern Warfare Remastered, and then later on in the year, about like more than half a year later,
Yeah.
they sold Modern Warfare Remastered alone. So that's what they're going to probably do.
Mhm.
So it just sucks as a casual player that just wants to buy a $60 game, not have to worry about DLC. And if they do want to get the DLC, they can get it.
Right.
I am going to get the $100 because I love Call of Duty, but
Mhm.
I could see why a lot of people are very, very upset about it. And I would be too if I was just a casual gamer.
I think for me, as a casual Call of Duty player, which, again, I jumped into it. I played Modern Warfare MW4 a little bit. I ended up getting a little more competitive with it in terms of, well, quote unquote competitive, more like just playing it more often when World War II came out. And full disclosure, I bought the game because it was on sale at one point. I said, all right, well, it's a little cheap. I can go and pick it up. I did not pick up the DLCs because for me, it was a casual experience. It was just it's a game I'm going to play for a little bit. I can learn these few maps. It's fine. I do wish I bought Valkyrie because that's a great map. It looks really fun, but I never got around to it yet. It's that exact situation that I just described there that can't really be done through this pass. So let's say, for example, Black Ops 4, which Cory's gotten me into this. Let's say there's a map that comes up in the competitive scene during the Call of Duty. Help me out here. What's the name of the Call of Duty?
CWL.
Thank
Call of Duty
you.
World League.
How embarrassing. I watched it for 5 hours yesterday. We're recording this when I'm tired, so I apologize. So let's say during the CWL, a map gets added to competitive that looks really cool. If I decide I want to get that map, I have to go ahead and buy the Black Ops Pass in order to get access to the map and then be committed to getting all the rest of the DLC. When in actuality, I just want the one map. So a $15 transaction has ballooned into a $30 or $40 transaction. And that's a problem. I mean, in terms of the hardcore Call of Duty fan base, I don't think this will affect them buying the game. This is me just being blunt. Most likely, if you're a hardcore Call of Duty player, you were probably buying all the DLCs to begin with. Now, instead of buying them possibly $15 through the year each, now you kind of have to pay for them at one time, but most likely you were going to do it anyway. So I don't see that being a problem for the most hardcore of hardcore players. I think this comes down to when you start getting beyond the launch dates and start getting 1 month, 2 months, 3 months down the road, and you get to, say, the first map pack, and you're probably past Christmas. You have people who have bought the game at Christmas time, probably only got the base game, and now the first map pack comes out. And now they want that map pack, and they now can't get it. If the structure stays like this, and I'm understanding it properly, they can't get it without getting the Black Ops Pass. So again, that $15 transaction has now ballooned into a $30 or $40 transaction. That's my issue. I think it's that down the road, as the life cycle of this game begins, post-launch, probably month 3, month 4, that's when I think that issue is going to come up of, well, I want this new map, but I have to pay for the entire pass in order to get access to it.
Well, I think I know why they wanted to. I have an idea why I think they're doing it this way is because instead of you doing 4 DLCs and it's every 3 months or whatever it comes out to be. And basically what they're going to do now is they're just going to be releasing maps throughout the year. It's not, one DLC, here's $15. So basically I don't think they want to, since it's not like a DLC where it's 4 maps or 3 maps, whatever. It's now, here's the second month of Call of Duty. Here's a map we got. Like they post up a new map every month. There's 12 maps. Actually, to be honest, that sounds like what they might do, but I don't know because it's not confirmed. But if they do that, they'll probably say, "Oh, we're gonna lose money because you're only gonna buy the 1 map. You're not gonna buy 2 maps. You're not gonna buy 3. So I see it as they're just gonna lose money, so that's why they want to do it like that. But I feel like it's so stupid to put it on that because if you go to their number 1 competitor, which is Battlefield, they have confirmed that there will be no DLC. Well, they've confirmed it's DLC, but it's free. And what else? What is it? It was about cosmetics. You could.
I think it was more or less along the lines of the whole cosmetics.
Oh yeah,
thing
you
is
could pay
fine,
for
but,
cosmetics.
Not necessarily built on loot boxes like we saw in Star Wars Battlefront 2. Kind of shying away from that because they got a lot of flack for that.
Yeah, I don't know. You would think that they would try to compete with their competitor. I mean, don't get me wrong, Call of Duty sells more, but to be honest, right now I think Call of Duty just sells more because of its name.
Yeah.
Not because of the game. Basically, right here it says, Electronic Arts said that this week that the upcoming Battlefield 5 will ditch the paid premium pass model to offer free DLC for everyone and give players the option to buy cosmetics. So, and they're doing that in a Division 2 with completely free DLC. So, I don't know. I just that almost makes me want to play Battlefield a lot more too, since they're working with everybody.
And for the record, that your comment right there that makes you want to play Battlefield is exactly what EA wants, because again, they're trying to save face after a tumultuous 2017 where they were just lambasted over and over about just the almost predatory nature of Star Wars Battlefront 2 and the way that game was built, essentially being a pay-to-win game. And after getting so much flack from the gaming press and even reaching mainstream press and even to some legislators who essentially try to call the game gambling along with a few others, this is about them trying to save face. And again, they understand that Battlefield is a big franchise for them, and just like Sony, as we talked about earlier, Electronic Arts is a publicly traded company and they have to answer to their shareholders. Now, full disclosure, EA is doing quite well financially, but they don't want to have to fight through another PR and financial disaster of trying to save face with another franchise. So them doing that was a strategic PR move, and I'm not dismissing them for it, but at the same time, I understand what they're doing, which is for at least that franchise, which they will be positioning against Call of Duty. This is about saving face. For Call of Duty, what you mentioned about being able to buy the 4 packs, I think we talked about this one time during a match. As people get DLC, so as you have the base game, so think of it this way. Everyone has the base game, so everyone has the same maps. First DLC pack comes out, you've now split the community down the middle. You either have the new maps or you don't. Then the next pack comes out and you're splitting the community again into people who don't have any of the maps, who has maps 1 and 2, who has only map 1 and who has only map 2. You're further dividing that community and breaking it into smaller groups the further you keep going down in terms of DLC. What that means is less people, in theory, will be buying the DLCs as you release them through the year. So to your point, I think what they're trying to do is, through doing it this way, they're trying to recoup some of the money that they would theoretically lose had they released the same DLC broken up across a year. Because you could argue not everyone is going to buy all 4, but you're going to have a few people who buy only 3, buy only 2, buy only 1, and you want to try and capture as much of those people as possible at one time through the Black Ops Pass. It's all about money. It's all these metrics, trying to capture as many people as you can financially, who may escape you if you do it throughout the year.
I mean, talking about splitting up the community and everything.
It's a very money-oriented podcast. Next week we'll be talking about stocks and bonds and how to get the best for your dividends.
Yeah, and PS4 is going down in stock. But talking about splitting the community, that just reminds me of going back to Call of Duty 4 and joining up with a friend, and at the bottom it says, you know, this person, whatever their name is, doesn't have DLC pack, whatever. So you can't play those maps. Which is, whatever. It's been there since Call of Duty 4, so, you know, but it's funny because we do keep coming back to money situation.
Mm-hmm.
Treyarch, Activision, I don't know if Raven's working with Treyarch anymore. I have no idea. But anyway, they know people are going to buy this. They know for a fact they're going to get those people. They're going to get their money's worth, and they're going to make more money. So why not do it? I'm guessing that's what they're saying, you know?
Yeah.
Why not do it?
Well, it's like you said. Call of Duty, many people buy the game based on the name. So it's one of those situations where you just kind of go, well, people are going to buy it anyway. And like I said earlier, you're going to have a lot of people who are going to buy the game anyway and buy all the DLCs anyway. So why not just, in their mind, it may just be let's just get this out of the way now and be done with it. So that's kind of my perspective on it, from a casual perspective. But I think it's very possible that some people are just like, okay, well, I'll just go ahead and shell out the money now because I know over the course of the year I'm going to get DLCs that I want.
Well, I think you should always kind of look at your community and see how they think about it. Like Battlefield, DLC's free. You know, Fortnite, game's free. They come up with updates all the time. They listen to the community. So it's like, I don't know, I just feel like more companies should just listen to, or not even listen. It's not even about to listen. Just take some of that, like just look at some of these reviews or something, or just whatever people are saying and be like, oh, okay, take it into consideration that, oh, this isn't really great. You know, like, you guys are a multi-million-dollar company, yet you need to have that extra $40 for a person. Like, come on, really? You guys are gonna make millions off of this game alone. In my opinion, this is purely my opinion, it's like the false narrative that we hear regarding gaming, that it's costing so much to make games nowadays. We have to do microtransactions to cover the cost of making these games. We have to do season passes to cover the cost of making these games. Now, let's just always remember, season passes were a lot worse a few years ago. Back in 2008, 2009, 2010, back in that EA era, when the season passes were a lot more predatory and essentially put multiplayer behind the season pass wall. Those were rough times. And the community backlash across many games resulted in them backpedaling on that. Now we're back at that point where it's not necessarily the, I guess you would say, the playing of multiplayer. Now it's the access to additional content that's being put behind this barrier that is the season pass. And that's essentially what it is. It's a barrier to content. You're just putting up a wall to content that on a normal situation you would have access to. And that's I don't like that. But again, that's me from a casual player perspective. From a more competitive and more hardcore Call of Duty player perspective, it could be just fine. And I'm off base with my argument, but that's just, again, from my view. I mean, yeah, obviously I buy the DLC.
Have you pre-ordered it already?
Nah, I don't pre-order till like a month before.
Okay.
But lately, what I've been doing in Call of Duty is I just take the day off of work, and come 11 o'clock, I download it. And then, hey, 12 o'clock hits, and I'm playing it. Most of the time, you can't really play till like 5 hours later, but, whatever. Because no Call of Duty game has ever had a good first day servers. Like, their servers suck. But what are you going to do? Everybody's trying to play at the same time.
Well, of course. Yeah. All right.
I just want to say
Wow.
one thing.
Yes.
I just don't like how season passes and stuff like that, they take over the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I don't like. Like, let me play the game, and if I don't want to play, I don't want the season pass, cool. I still have a lot of things to do in the game. Don't say,
Right.
oh, by the way, there's this much more if you get this, or this and
Right.
this and this. It's like, all right, I got the game because I wanted to play the game, not because of a season pass. So, I don't know. I just feel like they overpower it with that. But that's
it's
it.
like I argued, like, as you keep releasing these season passes, you're further, I hate using a fancy word, you're further creating a schism in the community. You are, yeah, I know. I tore the calendar on my word a day dictionary calendar thingy, and that's the word of the day, so we'll go with it. You're creating a
That's your
schism
word.
further through the community as every DLC comes out, kind of creating this have and have not situation where it's fine if someone doesn't have it. It's not a big deal because, again, it's a game, they can do other things, but again, it's creating a situation where some people have the map, some people don't, and that can even affect matchmaking if you really look at it, because I don't know how these systems work. I'm sure they're not going to put me into a lobby full of people who have all the maps for Call of Duty World War II when I don't have the map. So I'm sure their algorithm has to move me around to find people who have similar numbers of maps that I do. Basically, I would fall in the category of people who don't have the maps. That affects, like, gameplay. That affects your experience of playing on the game, because then most likely Cory, who has more maps than I do, it may be unlikely that we end up in a lobby together, or if we are in a lobby together, it's unlikely he's going to get to play on the maps that he has because I don't have them, or someone else in the lobby doesn't have them. So again, I could be, again, off base with this, but I think it just comes down, it trickles down even that far, where the experiences that one person have could be affected by someone else because that person doesn't have a piece of DLC. Like, does that make any sense? Probably doesn't make any sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Oof.
I mean, they should always have the thing. I feel like they always should have it to the point where you could just turn the DLCs off.
Right.
But that's not the thing. Whatever. I remember there was an early stage in World at War, where if you didn't buy the DLCs, you still got into a lobby with a DLC. So basically, it's like, oh, I'm playing. Oh, cool, I get to try a DLC. Nope, kick from the lobby. They had to obviously fix that, but I was like,
Right.
All right, cool.
See, I didn't realize that was a thing. So what you're
Yeah,
saying
it was very short.
okay, so what it would do is you'd be in a lobby, it selects a DLC map, and
Well, it's
basically-
one of the ones well, actually, you couldn't vote then. Yeah, so it would come up as like a DLC map, and you'd be
Right.
like, I can't play this.
right, and then it would just remove you.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's just like, get the hell out, go get some money, take mom's credit card and get that map. Don't you wish you were with your friends?
Mom, I need $10.
Oh my gosh. See, I didn't realize that was a thing. All right. Well, it seems that they're evolving their tactics. And of course, we're probably going to hear more and see more about the Black Ops Pass as we get closer to the beta coming out, which, do you have a date on when the beta is coming out?
Let me see.
Uh,
I don't think there's a specific date right now.
Okay.
I know when
I thought I
COD
saw
Champs happens, and
I
what
thought
is
I
that,
saw something
August?
floating around, but I could have been wrong, which is very common nowadays.
What is COD Champs is the 9th, right? I don't know, something like that.
It's
August
like
9th? No. August 16th to the 20th? I don't know, something like that. Whatever.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Yes. No, 15th to the 15th to the 19th. So you got COD Champs then. They will have Black Ops 4 there for people to play. They always have the game that's coming up next that to play at COD Champs. So obviously I'll be looking into that. We'll see more, and obviously by the next podcast I'll know even more. Let's see. Black Ops 4 beta.
If I'm reading this, which I could be reading this a little bit off right now, looks like pre-ordering the game obviously gets you access to the beta, but looks like PlayStation, the beta for them is going to start on the 3rd and end on the 6th. Then there's going to be another beta for both PlayStation and Xbox on the 10th. From
I got a pre-order.
The 10th to the 13th. And there's a PC early access beta from the 10th. That's on August 10th on BattleNet, and then the open beta for PC is going to be August 11th through the 13th. So it looks like that's about the week before Champs, right?
Yeah, basically what they had last time, what they had for World War II is they had PS4 by itself. Then it's the same thing. The following weekend, it's PC and Xbox as well.
Right. So again,
actually,
that PS4 exclusivity that we always see as of late.
I feel like World War II didn't have PC and Xbox at the same time. I feel like PC was.
I think PC was its own thing. I remember you played.
Yeah,
PC
I think it was a week by itself. Yeah, because why else would I play PC?
Correct. That was an experience. Oh man, see, is this?
And then they said that they're gonna have the blackout beta mode in September.
Okay.
So your boy has to go pre-order it because I need to play that.
That's how they get you. That's how they get you
August 10th.
You only can play the beta.
August 10th to the 13th. Just know, everybody, August 10th to the 13th, I will be staying indoors.
Don't you stay indoors anyway?
Hey.
Anyway, sorry. All right, so we won't make this the Call of Duty podcast, even though that's what I fought for many a time. I guess we'll kind of bring it toward a lighter but somewhat frustrating topic for some in this community. Some more information came out about a game I'm looking forward to, which is Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu or Eevee. So information came out on that, and I feel like I'm going to be the side that's not very fazed by this. I want to thank Cory for pointing this one out to me because it missed me in the goings on of late.
It came out today.
Okay. Do you want me to take the lead on this one? Okay.
Yeah, you can take it.
So we saw some new stuff that came out today. We saw not today. I want to say maybe even today or yesterday as of recording this, that they released some more footage of Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. Some of the things we saw, just again, more overworld walking. Of course, we know this game is set in Kanto with a slightly different art style than we're used to. Of course, coming to the Switch. Got to see what gyms look like. I love the look already because it just takes me back to my days of playing Pokemon Stadium on the N64. But there's a little thing that came out through translation of some of the text on screen that has people in the Pokemon community a little frustrated, because now it seems that there are going to be caveats or requirements put in place before you can actually enter a gym and compete for a badge. Now, saying that sounds kind of, all right, that's not a big deal. But what I'm reading and kind of the take I got from reading this article through Game Rant. By the way, we'll have all the links to the articles we mentioned down in the description so you can check those out and be able to read those. The translation that was provided through the article basically showed a person at the Pewter Gym, which of course is Brock's gym, and the individual at the door that normally greets you basically asked the player to present to him either a grass or water type Pokemon before entering. So it's kind of suggesting, and through other confirmations, there's going to be some restrictions that may be in place or requirements that require you to have certain levels or types to be able to go into a gym and actually compete, which is going to be a far different experience than traditional Pokemon games have been. What some people are arguing is that this is just, in my words, dumbing down the game for more casual players that are already being lured to this game through the Pokemon Go integration, and again, just the, as some people feel, the pandering to Kanto of having another Kanto game with only the first 151 in the game. So for me, and Corey, you can put your take in on this as well. For me, and then I can jump to you, I don't think this is a big deal. I mean, their article mentions that, oh, some people go on these unique runs that'll be prevented from that. If I'm reading that right, the way that this individual translated this one line of text. Now, again, this could be different in different gyms across Kanto. If all I have to do is show him one Pokemon that matches the type that allows me to get in the door, then I just show him a Pokemon that matches that type, and I go on about my way, and I continue my unique run, whatever that is. Now, if there are level restrictions or everything like that, then okay, that's a different story. But I don't think that this will detract from trying to do unique runs in the game. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because when it comes to Brock's Gym specifically, it's in this situation when, if I understand his game properly, your partner Pokemon is Pikachu or Eevee. Neither Pokemon has a strong advantage against Brock going up there. So you have to catch something along the routes or through the Viridian Forest to be able to battle him to begin with, or you're just going to get knocked out of the building by Onix or Geodude. So that's not, in this situation here, this is not a big deal. Once you get further in the game, maybe the Misty's area, then you'll have access to more Pokemon that can make your team a little more diverse. But there may be some sort of situation or caveat or story moment that allows you to have access to a water Pokemon or a grass Pokemon that'll let you do that. I don't think this is a big deal. I think this is kind of raising a bit of a stink over nothing, in my opinion. What do you think of what you read?
Well, I got two things. One's good, one's bad. I wonder how many restrictions they're gonna have. Are they gonna have to the point where you get later into the game, maybe like the 6th badge or something? It's like, oh, you need a restriction of this Pokemon, this level. You know, not just water type or you just need to get it to level 30. You know, put I don't know. I feel like when I was thinking about this, I was like, oh, cool. Maybe they'll put some restrictions that will make it a little bit challenging. You know, you actually have to strive to go get this.
Right.
Who knows, really? I mean, this just came out, so it's brand new. So we don't really know 100% everything.
We don't really know all this, and we're getting all this through translations of video of the Japanese video. So again, we're kind of in that, well, this is speculation, but here's what we know so far situation. I personally, again, I think we need to know more. I don't have a problem with them saying, hey, you need this type of Pokemon. If you walk up to the guy in the other games, he tells you what Pokemon are strong against said gym. But if it's a requirement, then that's kind of strange. I don't know why you would do that. The only time that there's a requirement really in Pokemon games is when you get to the Elite Four, which is you can't cross that plane into Victory Road until you have XYZ number of badges. In this game in particular, because I remember Red, Blue, Yellow so well, as you surf up the route, you may have surf already, but once you reach the 7th gym, the 7th person along that watery route, they're going to stop you and say you can't advance anymore because you don't have the volcano badge. You need to go get it. So that's the only real restrictions that are put in the game that stop you from advancing unless you have completed the gym circuit in the region. If you're doing this in a way to kind of, I guess, steer players in a certain direction of, hey, you should probably have this Pokemon. Okay, whatever. I can just bring a grass type, but if my whatever Pokemon is stronger and I think it can do well and do work against said gym leader, I'm going to use that. I don't think that it stops you from being able to just show the Pokemon that matches the requirement and then just move on. It's kind of like having a Pokemon in your party that knows cut. It's just there, it does its job, and then you just move on and put it away after you're done with it. So I think we need to know more before we get all frantic about this. This game is going to be different from what I think people want in terms of a Pokemon game. This is again not the mainline Pokemon game that's been promised for next year. This is again kind of this side game that I again think bridges bringing the old fans back who love Pokemon and have been playing Pokemon Go, get them over here, let them transfer their Pokemon to the game while trying to bring us players who've been playing for years and is playing consistently to jump in and kind of take part in this new experience on the Switch to hold us over until we get to whatever the new mainline Pokemon game is. So I'm just like, whatever, I'm going to take my Snorlax and just go beat the gym leader and then move on. And I just showed you my level 5 Oddish and you let me in. Whatever, I don't care. Bye. It's fine. It's totally fine.
Well, one thing I'm skeptical about is when will they tell you need this requirement? You know what I mean? Like, basically, you beat Brock, right? And
Yes,
it's like, oh, by the way, the next gym you need to have this, or do you get to the gym and it's like, oh, you need this? It's like,
I can probably tell you from the screenshot. They'll tell you as you walk in the gym. So
that's
when
great.
you walk in the gym, let's use your example. You leave Brock, you go through Mount Moon, you get to Cerulean City. If the game follows the narrative I think it's going to follow, you go up Nugget Bridge, you find Misty, she goes back to the gym, you walk in, and he's going to probably stop you and say, again, this is speculation at this point, but following your example, it'll be at that point that they say, do you have a whatever, or your Pokemon needs to be like level 20 or something to do that. I don't know. I personally don't see what the need is to implement that kind of like gate in terms of playing the game, but I feel like we still need to know more. And I think Nintendo would be well to do by doing another Pokemon Direct closer to release on this game. I think that'll be smart for them just to kind of address the rumors that have been kind of going around of what this game's going to be and just kind of clear the air, not saying anything bad, but just kind of lay out what this game's going to be beyond what they already said at E3. We need a little more information about this game because it feels like more and more is trickling out, and whenever it just kind of trickles out through translations of articles and screenshots, I think things get lost in the translation. So it'd be great to have the company provide the narrative to explain what exactly these changes are, as opposed to trying to get them through, again, translations and dissecting video and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's my take.
Well, do you want to go over the last thing in this article?
Yeah,
wrap
we can
it up.
Try and go over that right quick.
All right. So basically what it says is now that the Pokemon Let's Go will require the use of motion controls. I'm not going to read anymore because whatever, but it does say may be uncomfortable. I'm going to be hands down tell you, if I'm playing like something that I could lay in my bed, like I've played Pokemon laying in my bed all the time. It's just something you do at night. Now I can't lay down because I have to worry about motion controls. Basically, they also say that this is for better. It's to improve the game. Yeah, to an extent. I just don't want to be uncomfortable.
I'm not a fan of motion controls, and yeah, I saw that point in the article. I glossed over it because I'm so tired of the motion controls thing. I worked at GameStop when the Wii was a thing, and I've never want to hear the phrase motion controls ever again. When it comes to motion controls, it's just Nintendo's always tried to shoehorn this in with the Wii U, and now the Switch. And they showed how the motion controls would generally work. It seems that it's more focused on the battles themselves, the throwing a Pokeball, things like that. I would hope that they do one of two things. One, make the motion controls be optional, like they did in Odyssey, where motion controls can be used, but they're not essential to they don't have to be used for the execution of basic things in the game. Or do it in such a way, address the other thing, which my concern is, if the game is being used in handheld mode, if a unit is being held in normal handheld mode, make it so those controls are not needed. I'm hoping that this game doesn't have required motion controls. I'm going to make a prediction, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll go ahead and just say it when the game comes out. I don't think these motion controls will be required. I think that they will enhance the
on or off thing?
I think they'll have to be on and off. Other games that they've released have similar kind of features and things like that. Not Pokemon, but just other games that they've released have features like that where you can waggle the controller to do certain things. Super Mario Odyssey is one good example of you can waggle the controller to make Mario do certain things when Cappy is captured to something. But also you can just press a button and it does the same thing. So I think that they're going to tout the motion controls, but most likely there's going to be a way to just not use them and just move on, and you press whatever button to complete the task at hand, be it capture a Pokemon or whatever. I personally think that the motion controls are mainly focused on the throwing of the Pokeballs during wild battles. That's the way I took it in the direct that they had at E3. Because again, the look of capturing Pokemon is very similar to Pokemon Go. So that's why I'm thinking it's more focused, the motion controls are going to focus more on that capturing side of things. I hope I don't have to flail about just to get Magikarp to splash for me, because that's going to be a no-no, and I really don't feel like dealing with that. And yes, I have already pre-ordered the $100 Pokeball Plus bundle. Yes.
And
I am that much of a mark for Nintendo and Pokemon.
So you buy the $100 Pokemon, I buy the $100 Call of Duty. All right.
Yep, and we'll call it even. There we go. We'll call it even. We'll call it a day. I won't judge anyone. Whew. Did a lot of talking.
So right before we end,
yes,
we're all gonna go skirmish. Is that the word you used?
Excuse me?
Is skirmish the word you used?
What are you
Skimmish?
talking about?
What's the word you used? The
What are you trying to say? You got me so confused, brah. Skirmish?
Is that the word you used before? The fancy word you said?
No, schism.
Schism. Well, I already screwed it up.
Come on. I'll send you a calendar. It's fine.
Let's all schism, guys.
Let's all schism. Okay, that's
I don't even know what it means anymore.
That's not how you use that word.
What's the definition?
You're the one looking up stuff over there.
I don't even know how to spell it.
You work on the outro of this video. I'll look up schism for you.
All right, guys. It was a great video. We love it. All right, if you guys could please give a like, comment, subscribe. It would really help out the channel. Anything you guys wanted to talk about, leave it in the comments, and we'll definitely bring that into our next podcast if we think it's a good discussion and if we have a lot to talk about on it.
I got you. And by the way, for me personally, because I do care about our community, I hope that you do not experience any schisms in your life, which are considered to be a split or division between strongly opposed sections of parties caused by differences of opinion or beliefs.
Oh yeah, you used that on Call of Duty and Battlefield. Yep, that makes sense.
Shut up, man.
Whoa.
Leave me alone.
Hey, it was a good word. It was used appropriately.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right. I'll see you later, guys. Check out our latest videos. We're going to start a little playlist for the podcast, and we'll see you around.